This is a video on the Cold War, specifically the Prague Spring. So we're going to be looking at the events in Czechoslovakia in the late 1960s. So I would say that this is suitable for revision for GCSE, especially linked to the account question for the conflict and tension 1945 to 1972 topic, which is on paper 1 of the AQA spec. The account question requires a narrative of causes, the actual event, and the consequences, and analyse those changes as a result of the event. So let's start off then with the causes of the Prague Spring, what life was like in Czechoslovakia in the mid-1960s.
Well, first of all, Czechoslovakia was a one-party communist state that answered to Moscow. It was a member of the Warsaw Pact, and its leader, Antonin Novotny, was known to be corrupt. The Soviet government was concerned that he could damage the image and power of the party. In the mid-1960s, economist Otto Sik had called for reforms. He called for less control of the economy and a lift on the ban of private businesses. He wanted rights for consumers. He called for more power for ordinary workers and for the government to listen to the concerns of the people.
So by the time we get to 1968, there is change in Czechoslovakia. There's a change in leadership, and the new leader wants something called socialism with a human face.
In 1968, Novotny was forced to resign. He was replaced by Alexander Dubček. The Soviets hoped that Dubček would calm the cause for change in Czechoslovakia. However, Dubček immediately set about introducing new political reforms. He called this socialism with a human face. These changes included remove state controls on industry so Czechs could run their own businesses, allow public meetings and freedom of speech, end press censorship. He would give Czechs the right to visit non-communist countries, and to allow trade unions to form. Meanwhile, Dubček tried to reassure Moscow that he was loyal to the Warsaw Pact and that communism would remain in Czechoslovakia.
These reforms in Czechoslovakia, introduced by Dubček, are what's known as the Prague Spring, and they provide challenge to the Soviet leader Brezhnev.
Even though Dubček promised to stay loyal to the Warsaw Pact led by the Soviet Union, it suggests he still wanted some independence from Moscow. There was fear that discontent in Czechoslovakia would spread to other countries in the Eastern Bloc. In Poland and East Germany, there had already been student protests. Dubček gained support in Romania and Yugoslavia, which was communist but independent of the Eastern Bloc.
Dubček then wants more independence from Moscow.
Dubček then announced plans to open borders with the Western countries and remove censorship of the press. The Warsaw Pact states met in July 1968 but excluded Czechoslovakian officials from the meeting. The other 5 states signed the Warsaw Letter. It warned the Czech government that no country in the Eastern Bloc should damage the agreement of the Warsaw Pact.
So what was the Soviet response and the immediate consequences of the Prague Spring?
So in August 1968, Soviet forces entered Czechoslovakia and seized control of Prague. Dubček, in this instance, ordered the army not to fight back. Czech radio stations broadcast the reports of the invasion to the world. Dubček was arrested and forced to reverse the reforms. It is believed that 137 Czech protesters were killed and another 500 wounded. Dubček was expelled from the Communist Party and a new government was installed in Czechoslovakia that was seen as more loyal.
So the wider consequence on international relations is that it reinforces the fact that the USA cannot intervene behind the Iron Curtain. This was made clear as far back as 1956, where the UN could only condemn the Soviet response to the Hungarian uprising. It could not get involved in any conflict behind the Iron Curtain through risk of a full-scale war. Events in the 1960s, like the Prague Spring and the Cuban Missile Crisis, show that lessons were learned by the superpowers because neither side wanted to risk full-scale nuclear war, and they had come close, especially during the Cuban Missile Crisis. A period of détente follows the Prague Spring, so that's like a break in the tension of the Cold War. I aim to do another video soon on the Prague Spring, this time looking at specific exam technique when it comes to the source-based question. In the meantime, if this video has been helpful to you, please feel free to leave a kind comment, please like, please subscribe, and once again, thank you for watching.